Hi, Professor Sarko Porfu. It's Ashley Allen. Today is August 10th, 2018, and we're talking about the digestive system. So, when I think of the digestive system, I initially think of intestines and stomach, but it's so much more than just those organs. There's so many enzymes and chemicals that come into play, even starting with our mouth. But before I start the process of digestion, explaining the process of digestion, I found a kind of crazy fact that the average human eats 365 kilograms of food a year. That's 805 pounds a year. That is so much food. So it tells me our body's just like a machine. It's always going. Our digestive system is always working. Something's going on. We're digesting. We're getting more food. Between here and down here, there's always something going on. There's multiple organs, and there's over 20 specialized cells that assist in digestion. So the first things first, digestion can start before we even put anything in our mouth. When we see something, such as a veggie burger instead of the basic American hamburger, myself, I get excited. I see my jalapenos, my saliva gets going, and I want to eat. This can, of course, occur smelling as well. Or if we really think of our favorite dessert, it could even get our saliva going. The anticipation of eating is there. So before I talk about the first thing we do after salivating, I just want to say that we secrete 1.5 liters of saliva a day. This is a little more than 1.5. This is 1.89, but it gives you an idea of how much saliva we secrete a day. 1.5. That's a lot of saliva, which means what? It must be pretty darn helpful. So I take a bite of my, my burger, and I begin to chew. Chewing right away helps mechanically break my food down. So remember, we have incisors, canines, and molars, and these different teeth break down different textures of food. So we're chewing, and then saliva's in there, and saliva has enzymes. So I'm mechanically breaking food down, and the saliva and the enzymes are chemically breaking food down. Then propulsion happens, which is the swallowing of food. And from there, things become involuntary. So the first involuntary movement after swallowing is peristalsis. It's the muscle contractions, which starts with our esophagus, which is 25 centimeters all the way down to the stomach. So peristalsis are muscle contractions. So if we have our bolus of chewed food here, it basically does this wave type contraction to have it move down into the stomach. Now, the esophagus is the beginning of the alimentary canal. Into the stomach, muscular walls turn our bolus of food into mush, and with churning, more acids are triggered by other hormones, and these hormones also trigger our accessory organs, liver, pancreas, and gallbladder. Approximately 3 hours later, stomach contents turn into something we call as chyme, which is like a frothy liquid. This chyme goes into the duodenum, which is the first portion of the small intestine. And this is where the chyme introduced to more acids from the gallbladder, the pancreas, and the liver. And as they mix and move along the small intestines, they go into the middle portion and the lower regions of the small intestine, the jejunum and the ileum. Fats and proteins, carbohydrates, sugars are all broken down with different enzymes, lipases, amylase, peptins, etc. And different foods are broken down with different enzymes. Some take longer than others. The jejunum and the ileum have millions of villi and microvilli. So as the food, or we should say now maybe chyme, with all these digestive enzymes and move along the small intestine, the villi and the microvilli are there for maximum absorption of these nutrients. And again, just like there's different ways or enzymes to break down foods, there's also 5 different ways of absorptions for our body to get all those nutrients. There's 5 different ways because different foods may have to be absorbed in different ways. So depending on the type of fat and protein and carb you eat, there's a different absorption or breakdown. Once the nutrients are absorbed, it goes into the bloodstream. There's little capillary blood vessels in these villi and microvilli pockets. And the bloodstream, of course, goes throughout our whole body, and the rest of our bodily organs and cells, tissues get these nutrients, and that's how we function and carry on and heal, etc. So what's left after all of this? Well, there's a few things left. Some food, fiber, salt, dead cells, bilirubin, and water all move into the large intestine. In the large intestine, they're introduced to bacterial flora, which aids in the movement of digestion. And as all this moves along the large intestine, water is slowly absorbed out. But there has to be enough water for our leftovers, aka our stool, to move along. As our stool reaches the colon, the internal and external sphincter moves them together, moves and expels the waste from our rectum and our anus. Now, internal sphincter is involuntary and external sphincter is voluntary. And this is how we move waste out of our system. So that is the digestive system in a nutshell. Now, it's time to eat.